What if this year didn't need a long list of goals? What if it just needed one word? In today's episode, I'm sharing a simple but powerful practice for choosing a one-word intention for the year and how that single word can quietly guide your decisions, your energy, and your growth in ways a resolution never could. Let's get started. Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show. Well, welcome to episode 343 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I am your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms out in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of MyDigitalFarmer.com, which is all about trying to help other farmers get more confident in their marketing and sales strategies so that you can grow a profitable business. Happy New Year! How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to the show. A big shout out to all of my regular faithful listeners. I'm really glad you're here today, and I'm excited to bring you today's episode. If you are new to the show, thank you for checking it out. Make sure you subscribe and go look at my first 10 episodes. Pick one out that really jumps out at you. They were designed many years ago to be an on-ramp into the marketing lingo. Another place you can go to get information is to get onto my email list. Subscribe at mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. When you do, I'm going to send an email to you about every 5 days for maybe 3 months. And I'm going to drop really important principles. I'm going to point you to podcast episodes, to resources, to free trainings, a lot of good stuff that's going to give you kind of the main information you need to know if you want to get better at marketing, and it's all free. So go to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. That is a goldmine of information. Today's podcast is sponsored by my friends at Locoline. If you're like a lot of other business owners I know, you usually take time at the beginning of the year to evaluate and set some goals for your business. And that's usually the time when we make some big decisions about going in a new direction or trying a new tool or deciding to start a new marketing outlet. If you're one of those farmers that's been thinking about switching sales platforms, but you haven't pulled the trigger yet, I want you to think about Locoline. Locoline makes it very easy. Their team handles the heavy lifting so that you can start next season organized and efficient. If you haven't heard about Locoline yet, they are an all-in-one sales platform that is built for farms and food hubs. They have tools for e-commerce, inventory automation. They have subscriptions, barcode scanning, box builder, and POS, and they're always adding new features. Farms using Locoline grew their annual sales by 23% and increased their average order size by 9.5%. That's big. Switching is simple and it's really stress-free. There are no setup fees, there are no sales commissions, and they have an onboarding team that's going to migrate your storefront for free in a matter of days so that you can focus on what really matters. Now, as a podcast listener, you'll also get one premium feature for free for a full year when you use my code MDF2026. So to sign up, go to mydigitalfarmer.com/local-line, all one word. Start the new year strong and sell smarter with Locoline. And now back to the show. You know, I have to be honest, as I look ahead to 2026 and I'm starting to map out ideas for the podcast and what we'll be talking about, it's getting challenging because I feel like I'm running out of things to talk about. And I kind of had this moment where I realized, I teach all of you guys how important it is to repeat yourselves in messaging, that's okay. And I'm taking my own advice now. I'm like, it's all right, Corinna, to go back and review some of these concepts and principles that you've already brought up in the past, because, there really are only a handful of things that are really, really important when it comes to marketing. And we can review them and talk about them in a different way through a different lens. So get ready for a fun season on the My Digital Farmer podcast. Today, we are talking about finding your one-word intention. And I decided to do this episode because it's the beginning of the new year. And I have a practice of setting my goals, evaluating my past year. I always do that work over Christmas break. And by the way, if you're interested in learning what that process is for me, you can go and listen to episode 191. It's a really good episode. I bring it up every single year and I encourage people to go through that process again. It's about a 4-hour process for me to walk through those journaling questions. And every single time I do, it gives me a ton of clarity. And one of the goals that came out of that process was that I wanted to create a project around the word abundance, because this word has been showing up a lot for me, tapping me on the shoulder over the last, 4 or 5 months. I've been curious about it. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to make the year of 2026 a year of abundance, where I study this word, I practice it, I notice what comes up for me, and I try to take action to grow in my understanding of what it means to be abundant. And I noticed that this word was really becoming a powerful word for me. And I had the idea, what if I make this word my one-word intention for the year? Now, this is a concept that I have heard about from my own personal coach, Rebecca, but it also comes up with my friends at church in my spiritual circles. I've heard a few of them choose a word from scripture that they're going to focus on for the year. And I've never done this myself. And I thought, what would that look like for me? And I have put together a really exciting process. I spent several hours doing it yesterday, and I thought I would talk about it today on the show. I'm giving you a little bit of a roadmap for how to find your own one-word intention and to allow it to be a compass for you over the next year. So choosing a word, it's not like a resolution. It's not a list of things that you'll need to fix about yourself. It's just choosing a word, and that word becomes a lens as you go through your container, whatever the container is. It might be a year, it might be 6 months. And if you've ever felt resistance to this traditional goal setting concept, but you still want to have intention and clarity and growth, then I think this episode is for you. It's going to be a little bit different than what I usually do here. I know I usually talk about marketing stuff, but every now and then I drop in a leadership or a business concept or a mindset thing, and I think this is going to fall into that category. I want to walk you through what a one-word intention really is, how to discover your word without forcing it. It should not be something you force. And how to practically live into that word all year long, or whatever the container is that you decide. It doesn't have to be a year. It could be shorter. So I'm going to use my own words for this year that I chose, and there are 2 of them. The main one is abundance, but there's also kind of a companion word, and that word is enough. I'm going to use those 2 words as examples, and I'm going to show you how this kind of inner work can really ripple outward, sometimes even shaping the work that you end up creating in your business, in your family, in the world. So let's start out with talking about what a one-word intention is. A true word usually repeats itself in your life. You will notice that it comes up as a pattern. Often, it feels a little tender. It may even have come out of a wound or something that happened to you that was difficult. Sometimes it feels inconvenient. I know that's been the case for me. This word has been showing up for me for three or 4 years. I've been aware of it. And I finally have decided it's time to stare it in the face and deal with it. But it has been inconvenient at times because it's just time consuming. I don't want to deal with it. Here it is again. Your word isn't something that you are going to achieve either. I want to stress that. That was an insight that I had recently. This isn't about achieving the thing that you're going to define. It's something that you're going to practice noticing. And that takes the pressure off. Maybe you'll achieve it, but that isn't the point. The point is to choose a word and just practice noticing it and studying it and be curious about it and walk around it and play in the sandbox with it. And I think when we come at it from a place of play, that's when we may actually see it begin to materialize and grow in our life. So think about your word as a question that you're going to live inside of for the container of time that you've decided to give to it. So how do we find your word? Okay, well, here's the process that I've used, and I want you to notice how non-forceful it is. And I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I know exactly how to find the word for everyone. There might be other ways to go about finding a word of intention, but this is how it showed up for me. So step one is I looked backward to find it. I also see it looking forward. It's something that I'm excited about developing and growing, but I looked backward before I looked forward. So here are some questions to help you find it. What themes kept showing up last year for you? Abundance was a big one for me because I was going through my health journey, trying to heal from a pretty traumatic illness, or at least it felt traumatic to me. And I just felt like I was living in the world of scarcity. Actually, the word scarcity came up first for me. And I noticed that I was always seeing the glass half empty. Instead of assuming that I would get better, I was assuming I would get worse. And I noticed that, and I intentionally decided that I wanted to flip the script, that I needed to start assuming I would get better. And that was a problem for me, that I lived more in the land of scarcity in respect to my health. But then I began to notice that the scarcity showed up in other flows, in other places in my life, not just in the flow of health. And so I saw the opposite of scarcity as abundance. So that's kind of where I really first noticed it. Something traumatic happened to me, and it became this cycle, this repetitive pattern in me. The word enough actually showed up during a guided meditation on a women's retreat that I went to. And I mean, I'd seen it several other times. I've brought it up on the podcast from time to time, but there was actually a guided meditation that I went on where I saw my future self in this story in my mind. And I had to ask her what her name was. Like, it was me in the future, like 20 years in the future. And I had to notice like what I looked like, what was I doing, what was my just attitude. And then she had a chance to say something to me. She also had a chance to introduce herself and give me her name. And she gave me, her name was Enough. And I thought that was really interesting. So these are examples of how the themes were showing up last year. Abundance and enough. Can I do enough? When am I healed enough? When do I get to say I don't have to do any more work? Like, when is enough when it comes to marketing? When is it enough when it comes to how long this podcast has to be in order to be good enough for my audience, right? All of these examples where am I doing enough to impress people? Am I doing enough to be outstanding and to be noticeable and to be worthy? So that's a question to ask. What themes keep showing up for you? Where did I feel tension? That's another question you can ask. Where did you feel expansion? Now that's kind of taking the positive attitude of it, right? Like, where have you experienced your word? You felt a momentary expansion, like a joy, and you wanted to stay in that place, but then it kind of went away. But now you want to go and practice being in that place of expansion more, because that's where you're finding energy and excitement and curiosity. So where do you feel expansion? Where do you feel curiosity? And another question is, what did I crave more of? What is something that you really want? You crave it. You don't have it yet, or you think you don't have it. Maybe you have it. You just don't see it. That is also a really powerful question. Okay. So look back, ask some of those questions, because the word is materializing before you. It has already shown itself to you. It's probably tapped you on the shoulder several times, and it's asking to be seen. Step number 2 is, I just said this, listen for what keeps tapping you on the shoulder. Can you tell I wrote notes down? So I've noticed that my words often arrive in a few different ways. It's really uncanny. I just feel like God has been wanting me to look at this word for a while, and it shows up in prayer. It shows up in journaling or in journal prompts. And as I'm working through it, the concepts keep coming up. It shows up in books. Now, I don't know if you're a big reader, but I'm not only reading books about how to be a better marketer, or in your case, how to be a better producer or grower or farmer or whatever. I'm not reading books necessarily about soil health and weed management and all those things. I know that that's important too, but I'm reading books about personal growth, spiritual growth, and often it's in those books where I see the word show up or the concept show up. In conversations is another place where it will often tap me on the shoulder. A few weeks ago, I was having a conversation with members of my life group, and this word showed up out of nowhere from the voice of somebody in my accountability group. And that leads me to the final one, where I think sometimes these words show up in the people that we're surrounded with. There has been a big shift in the last 12 months for me personally in terms of my inner circle. A complete shift, like a complete 180. I have 2 new people that have become very close friends of mine, and they are also on this same trajectory. They are also interested in this word. My husband is kind of awake now to it as well. And it's just really interesting to notice how God has, I think, been sending me people almost in advance to be able to study this word and get into the thick of it, and so that my whole culture is surrounded by it, and I'll have helpmates to discuss it with and work through the material with. So sometimes you'll have people coming into your life that are the perfect companions for you to explore the word. So pay attention to that as well. My final advice here is to let the word choose you. You might notice that you have several words as you're going through this material. And if you're stuck between words, consider having 2 words like I did. My 2 words are abundance and enough. They're kind of related though, if you think about it. But you could also just ask yourself, which one feels like it has something to teach me? And that's usually the one. All right, so let me talk a little bit about my 2 words, abundance and enough, and why they matter so much for me. Abundance for me is not about more for the sake of more. It's really more about releasing its opposite, releasing scarcity in my life, especially around my health, around my time, around my money and my opportunities that come my way, around my children. My son, Jed, is 18 this year, and he is a senior, and he is leaving the nest, right? It's also about my energy. And I feel like this needs to be the year when I finally start to notice how I am swimming in the river of abundance, even though I may not always see it. And I need to get comfortable with the word enough, not seeing enough as a bad thing, as a settling, but as like a grounding partner to the word abundance. I have a suspicion, I wrote this in my journal the other day, that I will find abundance in my enoughness. That sounds very dense, doesn't it? But I used to always think of enough as like, oh, I'm settling. I've stopped going for the ultimate destination. I've stopped pushing myself. There's always more. I'm giving in. But honestly, I'm exhausted chasing all the time, chasing the next goal, chasing the next thing to prove that I'm still growing, to prove that I'm good enough. And I want to explore, like, is it possible to find abundance in being enough? So for me, this word enough is asking, what if I already have what I need and I don't have to keep chasing or looking for more? What if I don't need to push so hard to achieve? What if what I'm doing now is good enough? What if rest is actually productive and creates more? What if joy and coming from a place of play is generative and will replenish? So together, I feel like these two words, abundance and enough, create a balance. Abundance without striving is something I want to explore, and enough without settling. You can tell I've thought a lot about this. All right, farmers, let me ask you something as we step into a brand new year. Do you actually feel ready for the marketing side of your farm business? Or are you quietly hoping you'll figure it out as you go, like last season? How'd that work out for you? If marketing your farm feels like a constant scramble, something you know matters but never quite gets the time or clarity it deserves, you are not alone. I hear this from farmers every single week, and that's exactly why I created Farm Marketing School to help you. Farm Marketing School is my monthly membership designed to help farmers build a simple, repeatable marketing system that actually fits into your real farm life. Inside, you will find bite-sized, step-by-step, do-it-yourself marketing projects that take the overwhelm out of things like writing sales emails or how to plan your promotions, how to build your social media strategy, how to update the homepage of your website, how to write an email nurture sequence, or setting up systems that work on autopilot even when you're busy in the field. Each month, you choose what to focus on, and I walk you through exactly how to do it with my on-demand video trainings and my bonus resources. And you're not alone doing this. Each month, we meet live on Zoom where you can ask questions, get group coaching, and hear what's working for other farmers. It's like having a farm marketing mentor and a room full of peers in your corner. This is not a massive, overwhelming course. The projects are designed to be completed in under 30 days so that you're making real progress without marketing taking over your life. So if this is the year you want to stop winging it and finally feel confident in a marketing system that brings in steady sales, I'd love to welcome you into Farm Marketing School. Join today at mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. That's mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. And now back to the show. Okay, so once you have chosen your word, whatever it is, and it's going to be different than mine, right? What do you do with that? How do you actually practice the word during your container of time? And this is the key part. This is where people often get stuck. So I'm going to try to keep this simple. I have a few suggestions here. You do not need to do all of them. You might just choose one, or you can rotate through them throughout your year. I had a 4-part framework as I was building out this word project for myself. And the 4 pieces are as follows: study, practice, notice, and respond. So there's a study element, which is this first piece that I'm going to talk about, to let your word shape what you are consuming. For me, that looks like book studies and podcasts around the topic of abundance, money mindset, health, time management, worth. I'm even looking at some biblical studies. I used to go to seminary, and so I was kind of curious to study the word blessing in Scripture and the word Jubilee, the year of Jubilee, as it relates to Scripture. And so I'm going to be looking up books from that angle as well. You can decide how this looks for you, but you want to let the word shape what you're actually consuming. Maybe it's some movies you want to watch, or maybe it's going on a trip somewhere and taking in all the information that experience gives you, or signing up for a retreat or a training program or a mentor, right? Like, what are you consuming? What are you putting into your mind and into your ears to help you study this particular word? I have, as part of my project, identified not only a list of books. I think I had 8 books that I was going to try and read over the course of the next 12 months. If I don't get to them all, it's okay. It's just kind of meant to be a book that I follow my energy. If I have energy to read the book, then I will. If I don't, then I won't. But I also have a list of scripture passages that are on the topic of blessing and abundance that I'm going to be studying and rereading and meditating on and journaling about. And I'm hoping that it will lead to other potential resources, right? It's not the definitive list. I'll probably unlock some other rabbit trails that I'll go down. And basically, though, I'm just asking myself what content out there, what books, what podcasts, what voices are going to support my word. So that's getting at that first pillar of study. We need to train our minds and rewrite new beliefs. So we've got to study what those are. We've got to get some new exposure to that particular word. Now, it's not enough to just have inputs or study things. We also have to practice. We have to do some training in terms of new habits. And so I have a few different things here that I've written down. I have, first of all, a visual anchor. So I have given an icon to this project. It looks like a gust of wind. And that's partly because one of the metaphors that I'm leaning into as I study abundance is this idea of a jet stream. I have noticed, at least spiritually, that when there are periods of awakening in me, when I just really feel like I'm alive with God's Spirit, things just feel easy. I feel like I'm going 100 miles an hour and I'm not even really having to try, and stuff's just coming into my flow. And that word flow sort of brought to mind an image of a gust of wind. And I imagined the jet stream. And like when you get yourself in the jet stream, it's just pushing you with all kinds of energy. You don't really have to do a whole lot to move. And so that became a powerful metaphor for me. And I imagine myself, Lord, just put me into the flow. How can you put me into this constant state of abundance where I just realize that I am fully alive. I have so many resources and you are providing for me, and we are just going, and it feels light and it feels easy. So for me, I've created an icon for it, and it's going to go onto my phone lock screen. You could create screenshot quotes that align with it. You could have a big sticky note on your desk or get a sticker on your planner, put it on the back of your phone. Right. And I'm also actively looking for a calendar of wind. If you can help me out there, that'd be great. But this came out of the idea last year. One of my farm marketing school members, Amy, sent me a picture a calendar of all different kinds of doors. And that's because the door was the metaphor image for me last year. And so now I'm like, oh, I want to find a calendar that's got different pictures of gusts of wind or wind at work. I'm sure I can find something like that. But again, just trying to surround myself with visuals of the word to really immerse myself in it. So that's another idea. Number 3 is to create a recurring reflection practice. So this could look like once a day or twice a day or once a week or once a month. The frequency kind of depends. You're asking yourself, where have I noticed my word this week? Or where have I resisted the word? What did the word reveal to me this month? And you're taking some time to reflect and pause and think about that. In my plan, I have a scheduled time at the end of every day to ask myself, what came today? What arrived without force? What is still here? And this is a practice of gratitude where if I notice all the things that have come in from day to day and also the things I still have. I mean, how many times have I written down that I have an amazing husband or I have 2 boys that are like best friends? I write that down every single day because it's still there. And it's a reminder that these replenish, these are secure, these are safe. You are well taken care of. When I see this list that's 2 pages long every single day, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm all right. I'm doing okay. I am abundant. And then as new things come in, that just gets me even more excited. Sometimes I write my gratitude in the future tense as if I'm going to assume it will continue to come. So that's another way to look at it. Last year, my husband and I went away to Colorado in April for 4 days to celebrate a big healing milestone in my journey. It was very powerful for me. I'm so glad that I did that. And I've decided that I want to do something like that again as a container for me to be able to do this work of reflecting on my word of the year. I've actually given this project a bigger name beyond just the Abundance Project. I've called it the Year of the Lord's Favor. This is a concept that's in Scripture that the Lord blesses you and that there's this year of the Lord's favor or the year of Jubilee, or when there's renewal and rest and healing and blessing upon blessing. And I just feel like I've just turned a major corner with my health. Like I no longer notice my digestion anymore. Like I feel like that's done, like completely done now. And it's been that way for several weeks. I just want to scream from the mountaintop, a huge victory. I'm so excited. And all along in this journey, I've been telling myself, Corinne, you just got to get over this bridge. Like you're on a bridge. You just got to finish the bridge. And when you get to the other side, there's going to be all kinds of new life and energy, and it's coming. And so now I'm on the other side, and I just feel like it's here. And this principle has happened so many times in my life where I've had a struggle, and then there's just this flourish of activity on the other side once I've gotten through it. And I know it's coming. And so I just have decided I'm going to name 2026 the Year of the Lord's Favor, because something new and exciting is coming onto my radar, and I'm ready for it. And it's already beginning to appear, and I'm expectant. Right. So I have this excitement for the word abundance. I'm anticipating it. And I wanted to create a moment in time where my husband and I once again go back to either Colorado or a new place, and we can place a stone or place a marker that marks it and says, this is going to be the year of the Lord's favor. And that way I can look back on that experience and more easily remember it and say it was a big deal. So we're going to be creating a container of time, a place where we can get away, where I can do some of this reflection work. And I'll probably do, there'll be a lot of heavy lifting, I think, during that time, and a lot of celebration and experiencing of my word of abundance. Okay, so that's creating a recurring reflection process. But there's also experimenting with embodied practices. Okay, so this is where you're actually doing something besides just thinking and reflecting. You're creating a practice, an actual action. So this might look like a meditation. It might look like practicing saying, "That's enough for today," or pausing before adding one more thing to your plate. Or it could be a very intentional, repetitive, embodied practice. So I'm going to give you some examples of what mine look like from my words, enough and abundance. I have a weekly practice called the Life-Giving Yes, and this is where I'm planning to do an intentional yes to some kind of activity that will delight me, that will be restful, or provide meaningful connection. And I'm going to probably have to plan these to make sure that they happen, but this is where I have permission to do something life-giving for myself, like a massage. I have actually planned to do 2 massages, hour-long massages every month. That's an example of a life-giving yes. A monthly practice that I'm going to try is something called my circulation practice. And this is around money. This is where I'm intentionally moving money towards things that are meaningful, things that bring me joy, opportunities to be generous. This is going to be tough for me. If you're inside Farm Marketing School, we've been doing a project all around money mindset. And so I have a lot of baggage that I'm still carrying from when I was a kid. And I've been working through it this year. And 2026 is going to be, that's part of this abundance work, is working through my money mindset stuff around abundance. And I need to practice releasing the money and trusting that when I release it with joy, that it will actually create a whole lot of energy and good in the world, and that I'll find a lot of satisfaction from that. That is difficult for me because I want to save it and protect it, and I need to practice seeing what happens when I allow it to circulate. So that is an example of a practice that will be difficult to actually do, but I'm committed to practicing it. That's why we call it a practice. I also have something called the enough practice, and this is catching myself when I'm asked to do things and I overperform and I go crazy on them, or even like in my job with marketing, sometimes I'll go above and beyond what I really need to in order to get the same result, just because I want to show everyone, or I want to show myself that I did it the absolute best that I could, when maybe if I could have just done it 70%, it would have been just fine. So I want to try catching myself in those moments when I'm tempted to over-deliver, and ask myself, do I really need to over-deliver? Does that matter? Why am I trying to over-deliver? Am I trying to prove something? Is this coming from a place of fear? And to stop on purpose and name it, this is enough. Okay, so that's an example of something that I've decided I want to try doing. This is going to look different for you guys, right? But I'm just pointing out, experiment with embodied practices. So we study. The second pillar is we practice. And then the third pillar is that we're noticing what comes up for us. We're training our attention. So what does the word, practicing in these different ways, what comes in as a result of it? Do we notice anything? Does it cause us to shift our minds? Do we have a breakthrough? Just be curious about what comes up. It's almost like I just want to stir the pot just for the sake of stirring the pot. I've been stagnant for so long. I don't even care if some uncomfortable stuff comes up now. I just want to break the log jam and get things moving again. And then the fourth pillar is to respond. We need to train our trust so that when things do shift and come in, that we notice them and that we do something different. We change our behavior because of it, or we write down what we've noticed and we have the aha moment and we sit on it and we think about it and we take action in a different way because of it. So we want your word to influence your actual work. Okay? As you're going through the next few months and you're doing some of these practices, things are going to come up for you. And we want to look at it, notice it, pay attention to it, and then say, okay, given this new information, given this insight, I'm now going to try and act in a different way. I'm going to shift how I've behaved in the past and try and practice a different way. Some of my deepest work, including the money mindset class inside of Farm Marketing School right now, is come directly out of my personal wrestling with abundance and with scarcity and this idea of, am I worth it? And so your word may end up shaping, a class that you decide to teach, or a new collaboration, or a new person that you try to become friends with or business partners with. It might influence how you decide to price your products, or a new product you want to create, or how you decide you're going to parent your kids in a different way, or how you're going to be with your partner, how you're going to talk to your customers now, or maybe even shape how you redefine what success looks like this year for you. Inner work always leaks outward, right? We want it to leak into our actual 3D world. So notice what comes up for you as you're practicing, and then respond, like change your behavior. Do something a little different because of the breakthrough. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Here's kind of your action plan, your homework from this episode, should you choose to accept it. First of all, I recommend you choose one word. Find your word, and then choose one practice. If you have energy to sit down and try to brainstorm several things to make this project really come alive, great. But if not, just choose one practice. And then choose one question that you are going to return to all year long. Or maybe it's a mantra that you're going to say as a blessing over yourself at the end of every day. So I have a couple of those that I wrote down just to give you some examples of how this looks for my 2 words. I'm looking at my notes here. So I have, I trust joy to be generative. That was a sentence that I've kind of latched onto. This is the year of the Lord's favor. Help me see it. My inheritance cannot be lost. All right, so I thought I would end by reading to you a creed that I've put together. This is something that I read once a day, and it's not the final version. Some of it feels a little bit off to me, but it's a beginning step. And again, this is another idea for you to come up with almost like a prayer or a stanza that you can read to yourself as a rallying cry. Okay, so this is what I have. This is the year of the Lord's favor. I bless joy as productive and renewable. I trust that what brings life does not diminish me, but expands me. I release fear of loss, and I choose to participate fully in the goodness set before me. I live as one whose inheritance cannot be lost. I no longer measure abundance by what I hold back. I measure it by what brings life. I trust God's favor to meet me as I move, not only when I wait. And this is the year of the Lord's favor. All right, I hope this episode inspired you a little bit to find your own word for the year. You don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to stay curious. And if your word shifts mid-year, that's okay. That's just listening and paying attention. Now, if abundance and enough resonate with you, and especially if money or value or worth feel all tangled up for you right now, I have built space inside of Farm Marketing School this winter where we are exploring these ideas together through our rewriting our money mindset work. And it's a special project that's going on for the next few months. I'd love to have you be a part of it. But whether you join me there or not, my hope is this, that your word becomes a place of truth, a place of growth that feels alive and that produces energy for you and direction and clarity. All right, that's all I have today. Thank you for being here. Today's show notes can be found at mydigitalfarmer.com/343. If you like today's episode, please share it with another farmer friend. I'm trying to get as many people aware that this podcast resource exists. And whenever you talk about it or whenever you leave me a rating or a review, it helps more people find out about the show. So thank you for doing that. If you want to get onto my email list and into my world, I have some free stuff to send your way. Some of it's very practical. Some of it's inspiring. It'll make your marketing stronger and it'll make you feel more confident in what you're doing. So you can go to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. It's free. And if you don't like it, just unsub. But I would love to bless you in that way. I'm also on Instagram at mydigitalfarmer. I show up there mostly in Instagram stories with a marketing tip or a mindset coaching moment and would love to connect with you. And of course, I'm inside of Farm Marketing School. Man, it would be awesome if you would join me in my community, mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. Thanks for joining me today. Remember, I believe in you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.